Do you primarily work on vehicles that need ABS or airbag system resets, or maybe the steering angle sensor needs to be calibrated? Simple Car Guy here, and today I might just have the tool for you, as this Foxwell NT630 Plus is specifically made to handle these tasks and help you with the most common collision repairs. So looking at this hard case that this device comes in, we can clearly see what it's going to look like. Of course, this is very much concentrated on ABS, airbag, and the steering angle sensor modules. So you will basically be able to do whatever you need to do with those three items on almost any car. And that's kind of the biggest benefit of getting a tool like this. Obviously, it can read and clear codes. It does have some bi-directional functionality, so we can check components such as switches, sensor, relays, and then we can do actuation tasks for different items as well. So that tells me it's going to be a bi-directional scanner as well. Very cool. We can graph up to 2 different PIDs. We'll see how well that works and how fast it refreshes. I'm interested to see if that's any good. As far as updates, those are done through a USB cable, so you do need a computer, but they are lifetime and they're free. And obviously it's going to work on most vehicles, so we can see that ABS and Airbag covers 58 different manufacturers, and steering angle sensor calibration is for more than 41 vehicle makes. Anyway, let's open it up, see what it comes with, what it looks like, and how it actually feels in your hand. Alright, so we get a quick start guide just telling you some tips on how to get started, where to register. If you like to register, I don't believe you actually have to register to use this device. Of course, you get a full user guide. Luckily, it's not electronic, so you can refer to it very easily. It tells you what each button does and everything else. We have our OBD2 cable, a mini USB cable for updating the device, micro SD card reader, because I believe it does have a micro SD card in here. Yep, so if you don't want to plug it in, so you want to leave it at the shop and just take the micro SD card to your computer, get it updated, you can do that. But yeah, looking at the device itself, this feels very nice. This is obviously rubberized outside here, so it will be very nice in the hand, can take some hits and not gonna fall apart. It does have these kind of flat buttons, very clicky buttons, so you can definitely tell when you've clicked it. And one nice thing about these buttons is that if you get dirt on them, you can kind of wipe them with a wet towel and it's not going to get stuck in between the buttons. OBD2 port here on the top, and that's basically it. Not much else to see here. So let's go plug this into a car and check out its functionality. All right, so now that we're in the car, let's take a quick look at this tool and see what it can actually do for us. Now, this main menu is pretty simple. It gives you the history, so if you've used it on a car before, you don't have to rescan it. You can basically go straight into it and it will know the VIN number and things like that, so that's pretty useful. We have auto VIN. This will figure out what your VIN number is, and based on that, figure out what vehicle you're in automatically. We have standard OBD2 functionality, so this is what a lot of scanners have. You get to see all the PIDs from the engine and transmission, things like that, but obviously nothing module specific. We also have ABS and airbag shortcut and the SAS shortcut as well. The last thing is settings. So if you go in here, there's a couple of things you can change, such as the language. So here are all the languages that you can select in case that helps you out. Now we also can do a display test or a keypad test, or change what these 3 shortcuts are at the top, or change the units. So I'm gonna go to Imperial from metric because I'm more used to that. But yeah, that's basically it. So now let's scan the vehicle and see what we can actually see. I'm going to click auto VIN. It's going to take a few seconds and then ask us if we want to do VIN acquisition or manually input VIN. I mean, that sounds a lot easier to where it does it for me. So I'm just going to, yep, that's correct. Confirm the VIN, and now it's giving us the information. Yes, this is the i3 with the range extender. Everything looks correct. So I'm going to hit yes, and now it's going to turn off the ignition in the vehicle. As you can see right there, it turned off. And it's going to restart basically all of the modules to make sure we have the latest information when we scan the vehicle. After a few seconds, we're presented with a couple of options. We have diagnosis and service. So let's do the first one first. So here we have quick scan or control modules. If we go to control modules, we can see the 2 modules that we can scan. So we can go to chassis, and this is the DSC module, or we can go to body, and that's going to give us the ACSM or the body module. So you can scan those like that, or you can go to quick scan, and it will scan both of them automatically because, well, it knows what modules it supports on this specific vehicle. So one thing to remember here is that it will only scan the modules that it supports, such as the ABS and the airbag modules, and you are not able to see all the other vehicle specific modules. Oh, there you go. So it's finished scanning. Now we can go to the first one. Let's go to the dynamic stability control first. Once we are in, it's going to give us a few options. So we have the ECU information. We can go ahead and read the code. So let's give it a second and see what it's going to show us. And there it is. So this is the code on this vehicle. We can check the freeze frames here as well, save it, or we can go back and we can erase this code. So I'm just going to clear it. And of course, if it's a permanent code, it's not going to go anywhere. You have to fix the issue first. But if it is fixed, you can erase these codes, and then it would turn off the warning indicators on your dash. Okay, and now that the codes are clear, we can hit OK, and we can see what else it can do for this module. So we can go to live data. Once we go in here, it's going to scan all the PIDs that it can read for this module. And the great thing here is that these are module and vehicle specific PIDs and not the regular stuff that you can see in OBD2 scanning. So that's the important thing. You can see live sensor data that is module specific. So it takes a few seconds for it to load everything up, but now we can see all of the live data that we can select. And these are not necessarily just individual items. These are more like categories. So if we go to general, here are the three things that we can see in here. So we can go select all, hit OK, and then it's going to get that data for us. Let's see how long it's going to take for it to do that. And there it is. So now it shows us the voltage of the valve supply, pump supply, and the electronic supply. We can also graph this. So if we hit graph, now it starts with a single graph. So what we can do is we can press multi-graph and get two graphs at the same time. But we can also even merge these two graphs. So take two data points, put them on one graph, right? And then they show up kind of at the same time. As you can see, the refresh rate is not the fastest in the world, but it definitely helps if you need to see some live data and see what changes are happening as you're working on a module. All the way back here, the live data menu, we can see what else we can see on this module. So we can see things like the brake pad wear sensors, front and rear. We can see the brake pressure sensors. And as you can see, I pressed all the way down there. So it went from like 3 bar to 33. Yeah, very cool. So you can see things like that. Of course, we can see all the other stuff like brake fluid level and wheel RPM sensors. So whatever you call reports for this module, it will basically allow you to see that here. So yeah, that's kind of the important thing, is that this functionality is not really available on $100 scanners, and this one's only a little bit over $100. So that's pretty impressive that you can see live data on individual modules. But what's even more impressive is that you can do active testing. So if we go into active testing, we can reset the control unit completely. We can turn on the DSC pump motor, and we can reset the tire pressure monitor. So you actually have some bi-directional functionality. Anyway, let's go back. So that was our dynamic stability control. The second module, the crash safety module, is basically the same thing as far as functionality. So if we go in here, let's see what we can do. I'll do a very quick overview. We can do the same read codes, clear codes. Let's see what kind of live data we can see. We can go to general, we can go to seatbelt, contact, ignition circuit, sensors. So let's see what's in general real quick. So we have all the sensors for the right seat, the left seat, airbags. We have airbag lock status. So if you're working on collision type of cars, this is very crucial information that you can graph and have it all selected and show all of the information on the side. So you can see where the issue is. You can see which sensor is bad. You can see where it's locked. And well, that will help you troubleshoot it way faster. and yeah, all the other ones here as well. Anyway, we can also do active tests in here. Let's see what those are. So we can just reset the control unit after you fix some of the items. You can reset it to basically default, and that will also help you fix those airbag issues. Anyway, let's go all the way back before we scan all of the modules and see what those special functions can do. So the first option we went to was diagnosis. Now we're going to go to service. So first, the chassis and suspension. Let's go to that one and check that out. Here we have traction control system and the parking brake. So under the traction control system, here are some of the functions that we can do. We can do the brake bleeding routine. We can also do the brake line mix-up test, adjustments of the driving dynamic sensors, DSC, control unit adjustments, and the ride height adjustments. So those are all the special functions you can do on the traction control system. As far as the parking brake system or module, whatever you want to call it, we can start up the system or put it in the workshop mode, so it will take back the electronic motor that's holding the pad, and you'll be able to actually change the brake pads on here. Let me also show you from the main menu how these shortcuts work. So if you go to the SAS one, it's kind of going to do the same thing that we have already done, but we're going to select the vehicle, BMW. And after it's loaded, we can go to special functions. And here is where you would calibrate the steering angle sensor. So this is the EPS steering startup. So if we go in here, it describes the function. You can scroll through and see what it's actually going to do. Hit yes once you confirm and you understand what it's actually going to do. Then it's going to scan the system, load the data, and give us a few options to consider whether we want to proceed and what we want to do. And obviously, if I haven't done anything like I haven't done here, we probably shouldn't run the procedure. But yeah, it basically tells you, do you want to carry out the startup again? I'm going to hit no, just because, well, I don't want to run it on my car. So yeah, the service function was ended. But obviously, if this was for real, you would be able to proceed here. So yeah, that's going to be the steering angle sensor calibration function. Pretty cool that you can have that on a scanner that's fairly inexpensive, definitely for what it is. The ABS and airbag is basically the same as the auto VIN functions. This is just a shortcut, as I was mentioning earlier, but this does add some extra functionality. So what do I think of this scanner? Well, I think it does a decent amount for the price that it is. You're not going to find a lot of other scanners that can perform these functions on this many vehicles and even allow some bi-directional functionality, such as we saw earlier. Of course, it supports 58 or so manufacturers. It really depends, and I do encourage you to update it so you get all the latest support for different vehicles. Are there any things that I don't like about it? Well, it is a little bit old school, as you need a PC to update, but you do get lifetime updates that are included and free. Another thing is that it is a little bit slow compared to some of the very modern scanners, but you're also paying a fifth of the price compared to those scanners. So I guess that's something that you need to consider. Anyway, I hope I have helped you figure out if this is the scanner for you. If you have any questions, leave those down below. If you'd like to see some other scanner reviews, why not click on this video? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.